Everybody just move it.
What's going on, everyone? This is Squeaky Clean. Today we're going to be doing my front upper control arm ball joints. I'm replacing them with SPC adjustable ball joints. The coolest thing is actually that I bought Mevotech adjustable ball joints, but all they are is pretty much repackaged SPC. So if you're able to find the Mevotech ones, they're actually cheaper a little bit by the SPC branded ones, but they're happen to be the exact same thing. So I'll show you guys what I'm going to be doing in just 1 second. All right, so these are the SPC or Mevotech adjustable control upper control arm ball joints for the 2006-2012, as well as GS300, which is what I have. 350, 460. Same thing goes for the IS chassis, but these specifically are for the all-wheel drive. I do believe the rear-wheel drive are the same ball joints. So anyways, these I bought from Rock Auto, and they're supposed to be Mevotech adjustable ones, but well, like it says, SPC adjustable ones. So score and score. The way these work is very simple, as you can see on the diagram. There basically is a slider, and that slider allows you to put camber in, camber out. I believe it's 1.5 extra camber adjustment. The factory all-wheel drive chassis for the Lexus has camber adjustment, I think up to 2.5 plus or minus. So this gives you additional camber, which is kind of what I want for my all-wheel drive. So it lowers a little bit more in the front, so it's a little bit more cambered. So the way it works basically is there's this little rod, and it's gonna keep going in and out, or you're gonna slide it in and out. And by doing so, you're able to adjust camber in and out. So for example, if this is straight, by sliding it in, actually in this way, by sliding it in, you're going to camber out the whole knuckle, not knuckle, but the trailing arm, I believe. Not the trailing arm, so there's in the back. This guy right here. Be able to go in and out, and that's how you're going to get your camber, obviously, for the front. So the more it goes in, the more camber they are, the more it goes out or straightens up. Obviously the straighter is going to be, I'm sure most of you guys know what camber is, but for those who don't, you can Google it on YouTube or YouTube it, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So anyways, this is core. These are the Mevotech ones, but they're just simply rebranded SPC ones. And the SPC part number, actually, because when I did some research, does happen to be, well, these have their own part number, which is the 67530B for the Mevotech, but 67530, there you go, 67530, I believe that is the SPC part number for the exact same ball joint. So score, I saved about 40 bucks on these, which is nice. So this is what we're going to be doing here. I actually pulled one of my upper control arms. It's just much easier to replace the ball joint, upper ball joint, when the actual arm is out. It doesn't really take, it's not very hard to remove. I think the hardest part of removing this arm is loosening it up from this spindle, and that way, or you know, this upper shortened spindles. Yeah, spindle, there you go, the spindle. And basically there's 14 mil bolts that go through here. The upper control arm goes through here. I'm actually doing it with my bags in. I deflated the bags, so they're not inflated, but it gives you plenty of space to sort of put the bolt in there. It's a little bit hard to get into, but all I did is just use a wrench, a 14 mil wrench, to remove these and slide out the bolts that are in there and pull it out. Obviously, after loosening this up with a ball joint puller, right? Because the ball joint sits in this arm over here, so I was able to loosen it up. I do have a 2-point lift, or a scissor lift, I mean. So the whole car is on a scissor lift, and I do have a modified support stand that I basically cut on the bottom. I think I cut about six inches off of a regular one, and that allows me to sort of have support on scissor lift. So you can't really find these. This is a custom made thing, but all I really did is chop the bottoms, make sure that it's level, and lo and behold, there you go. There is my little support stand that I use for all my projects that I need to do on my Lexus. But anyways, so that's how you remove it. And this is where it sits, and I'm going to install the ball joints. I'm going to press this one out and press the new one in, and we should be good to go. So I'll show you guys some more in a bit. Okay, so here it is installed on the car, and as you can see, it does bring it in a little bit. It's a little bit crappy though, because I don't like the fact that it's got so much more overhead compared to the stock ball joints, because the stock ball joints are about probably this high, but this gives a whole overhead for the slider and stuff like that. So I'm not really sure if it's going to air out or lower down as much as I want it to go. I kind of want it to go down a little bit more. It's a big struggle when it comes to the all-wheel drive Lexus cars because of this spindle, I guess you could say, or they need to be shortened. Most of the guys to get the all-wheel drive Lexus down, they shorten these by about 30 mils. You can use the low center adjusters, which basically go down over here, and what happens is these spacers, you can go from Megan or anything like that, will lower down the angle here, so the whole sort of setup goes down. But ultimately, I think the best solution really is to get a shortened shock, which is what we're doing. And I'm waiting for a custom shortened shock. They're not from BC Racing. They're from a company that manufactures their air struts for squeaky clean air. So it is probably an 18-inch long shock insert with a modified lower mount, which should bring everything a lot lower, which ultimately I think is the best solution to get these cars on the ground. Especially because with my car, I have the Rocket Bunny kit from Lexus Exclusive, and the Rocket Bunny kit, obviously all the Rocket Bunny kits bring the radius of the fenders a lot higher. So even though the car is slammed, there's still a gap between the top of the fender and obviously the wheel. So it's always been a constant battle for me to try to get the front lower, as it is with a lot of all-wheel drive guys out there that are bagged, whether it's the ISs or GSs. So this is really one of the reasons why I'm doing the camber ball joint, but I wanted to use this one because supposedly I thought that it's going to have a lot less overhead when it comes down to it. Plus, on top of that, as you can see on top, I've opened up a hole into my strut tower, so the control arm, upper control arm, will basically tuck in there, and I give an addition about 1/2 inch of drop. Like on the stock fenders, my GS drops really nice fender to lip, and it even tucks in the front. So on the stock fenders, it's like easy. Super easy to get this thing down. The problem is because of the Rocket Bunny kit, I have a hard time trying to get it down to where I want. So if you see any of the pictures on my Instagram or anything like that, there's always about 1/2 inch gap, and it kind of pisses me off a little bit. So that's one of the reasons why I decided to do the camber ball joints. And I can see that there is a lot more camber, but I'm going to put the wheel back on and drop the car and see if it actually made any change. If not, I'm probably going to just wait, because I'm an impatient guy, wait for the shortened shocks and then see how it goes with those shortened shocks. The shortened shocks will definitely make it go a lot lower for sure. I know that for a fact. And a lot of the companies for the all-wheel drive cars, they don't really develop shorter shocks for the suspension. They kind of have a generic size or length of the shock for these cars. So you never really know how much these could drop. So we're doing something very, very innovative and new by utilizing or using or trying to see when they come in next week whether it's actually going to drop down the front. If it does, well, then we know the ultimate solution. You won't even need to shorten up your spindles. You won't even need to use more camber, and you won't even need to use the lower adjusters. I mean, the adjusters are okay on the bottom here, because what that does is it sort of evens everything out, and it brings the geometry of the front suspension a lot nicer. So it doesn't hurt to have the smaller adjuster, the adjusters from Megan or from various companies that are that they have to have installed anyways. Especially with our case, I'm running the 19-inch wheel, so it should be no issues with clearance. Obviously, if you're running 17, you're gonna have issues. So I will definitely eventually get those, but Megan is on back order right now. So for now, we're gonna kind of experiment with this vlog on installing the upper ball joint and cambering the whole suspension more in addition to the 2.5 or 2 inches that comes from the factory. And the factory adjustment, actually, for those that don't know, is actually located right here, and it's easy for me to show you right there. There you go. There you go, right here. There's an adjustable bolt, and that's how you can get. But this is only for the all-wheel drive cars. I believe the rear-wheel drive cars don't have this adjustment. The all-wheel drive cars have front camber adjustment from the factory to bring it in and bring it out. They obviously tow you. It's done through your your tie rods and stuff like that. So I don't think you have a caster adjustment, but you do have a camber. But obviously that's not enough for me, so I wanted to camber it more. But we're waiting on the shortened shocks. So that's what it is so far for those that might be interested. Now, the actual installation of the ball joint, it's not really that hard. Obviously, you got to press out the old one, and you got to press the lower one in. It's sandwiches for those familiar with the SBC products. It basically sandwiches and allows you an ability to slide it in and out. And then by sliding it out, it's positive, sliding in, it's negative. So I'm not going to go into detail or show you how guys how to install it, just the final product. So here goes. I'm going to put back the wheel and lower it down and see what we get. Okay, so kind of disappointed. As you guys can see, the SBC ball joint, which is over here, is actually, this bolt is preventing it from going further. Where on the factory ball joint and upper arm, this part here was like completely flat, which means that it allowed even more, so this control arm actually protruded out, and that was good for like an additional ½ an inch of a drop. But with this setup, as you guys can see, there's peanuts, and look how close it sits to the upper mount. Like, I've driven on this setup probably for the last 5 years without having any issues, and with this cutout. But for me to sort of, cut further, just for the sake of trying to see if this bolt will make a difference, I honestly don't think that these ball joints are a good solution for all-wheel drive. I would recommend for all those guys that want to run really low height at the front is don't even bother changing your factory ball joints. Just use your factory upper arms, because it makes absolutely no difference, especially for the bag cars. For the all-wheel drive chassis, the rear-wheel drive is completely different, because you don't have an overhead for the lower mount of the shock for the differential in the front, obviously. So rear-wheel drive is never an issue when it comes to lowering Lexuses. It's the all-wheel drive that's a bitch, and this is definitely not working out to my advantage. So what I'm going to do is, because obviously the OEM upper arms are destroyed now because I had to press out the old ball joints, I'm going to order just OEM replacement arms and put them back in. Not really that hard to do. It takes about maybe an hour and a half most per each side in order to put the factory ins, but I'm going to go back to the factory ones, and I'll definitely get lowering back to what it is and kind of live with a ½ inch gap for now. But this is really not helping my cause at all, and this is what it is aired out. So I mean, let's not bother. So experiment a little bit, not happy with this. I thought maybe by putting in the camber upper arm ball joints, I'll be able to camber the car more in, and thereby by cambering the car more in, I'm going to get a lot more of a drop in the front. And obviously that's not the case, just because of the overhead of the actual ball joint design. So it doesn't seem to work that well for my advantage. So I'm going to leave it as is. I'm going to order OEM upper control arm for this thing, bring it back up, so at least I can get slammage in the front, but it's not working out to my advantage. So yep, that's all for this vlog, guys. Wish you all the best, and I'll keep on chiseling in order to get this car lower.